It is a topic seldom discussed in public, yet it involves an estimated 400,000 Filipino women every year. It is a health issue neglected by government, yet government hospitals spend millions annually treating the complications arising from its practice. It is a practice condemned by the church and frowned upon by society in general. Yet it is a reality that grows increasingly grim each year. Abortion. Defined as a termination of a pregnancy before viability, abortion falls under two categories: spontaneous and induced.
When we say spontaneous abortion, it's a miscarriage in layman's terms. When you say induced abortion, there is an intent to terminate the pregnancy using various means.
Induced abortion is a crime in the Philippines. The revised penal code says that those who perform or assist in an abortion and those who avail of abortion services are punishable by law. The penalties range from 6 months to 20 years in prison. Despite its prohibition, induced abortions are widespread, and it isn't limited to women from a particular background. Filipino women of all social classes and backgrounds are having induced abortions. A 1994 study by the University of the Philippines Population Institute estimates that 400,000 induced abortions occur every year. That means 1 out of every 6 pregnancies are aborted.
Even the law itself has not actually stopped the occurrence of abortions. And what is happening is that women are actually still going through the pwedeng makamatay na proseso na pag-terminate ng kanilang pregnancy.
Health professionals estimate that 27%, more than 1 in 4 women who have induced abortions, are hospitalized for complications. Complications range from cervical infection to severe hemorrhaging and shock. An alarming percentage of these cases end in death.
For the year 1994, the Department of Health reported that 12% of all maternal deaths were due to abortion. This makes induced abortion, if I may quote, the 4th leading cause of maternal deaths in the country.
The mortality rate is high because many women suffering from post-abortion complications do not seek medical help until the symptoms are severe.
There are a lot of factors coming to play why women delay consulting in a hospital. One would be probably because they're afraid, of being scolded in the hospital, or because there's a stigma attached to having an induced abortion.
A recent study conducted by the UP Reproductive Health Rights and Ethics Center for Studies and Training reveals that women admitted for abortion complications were often discriminated against or even treated with contempt. There are cases, for example, of doctors deliberately withholding anesthesia in order to make women feel the pain. Some medical practitioners deny medical help altogether rather than risk the possibility of prosecution.
Minsan meron akong nakausap na pasyente, sabi niya, kumusta ka na? O kumusta ang trato sa'yo doon sa delivery room? Ma'am, buti nga dito ako nagpunta kasi yung pinuntahan ko nung una, hindi ako inasikaso, sinisigaw-sigawan pa ako.
As it stands now, I know that doctors are very reluctant. They wait to the last minute to deal with post-abortion complications to make sure that they do not have criminal liability for dealing with post-abortion complications. But you see, the danger there is women die as a result because of the lack of timely medical intervention.
Abortions are induced in many ways. The methods in current use range from safe, effective medical techniques to unsafe traditional methods like herbal remedies and massage, and the use of toxic chemicals inserted into a woman's uterus. Majority of women consult lay practitioners such as the hilot or albularyo, or attempt to induce abortion themselves through the use of prostaglandins like misoprostol, a drug for ulcers.
Because of the availability of a certain medication that can be used to induce abortion, it's the most frequently used mode of induction nowadays.
Then there are those who, in ignorance and desperation, resort to crude and extremely dangerous means.
Yung iba, meron nga nagsasabi, iba tumutuntong daw sa lata. Yung iba, nagbubunot, naglilinis sa bahay, nagsuscrub, kung ano mga ang ginagawa nila para matagtag yung katawan nila. Yung iba, may mga iba pa nga dyan na mga instances daw na hanger, kinukuha nila yung hanger, tapos pinapasok nila dun sa may uterus, just in order for the baby to be aborted.
Complications arising from abortions is among the 10 leading causes for hospital admissions nationwide. This fact alone merits immediate public attention. Such a heavy demand for treatment on an already overextended hospital system and the high maternal mortality rate make abortion a serious public health problem. And that, Attorney Raterta says, is exactly how the issue of abortion should be approached.
It really becomes a health issue in the sense that women actually should not be dying because of abortion and its complications. It's really beyond discussions on whether it's moral or it's legal, di ba? What is more important is for us to look at the statistics and to look at studies which show why women or who are the women who actually undergo abortion.
Dr. Josefina Cabigon is the director of the University of the Philippines Population Institute. She's also one of the authors of Clandestine Abortion, a Philippine Reality. This 1997 study describes the methods and reasons for induced abortions in the Philippines, as well as the demographic profiles of women who undergo abortions.
According to our studies, there are 3 groups who undergo abortion. First, women who are in their prime years, that is from 20 to 29 years, married or living in, who come from the large households or an average number of 3 children. Second are the teenagers. They are single women and those living together with their partners. And the third, older women. These are the late childbearers. They are married women and those who think they already have too many children.
The study provides national and regional data for previously unmeasured aspects of the reproductive lives of Filipino women. Beyond the statistics and careful analysis, the study tries to put a human face to the numbers through excerpts of interviews about the personal struggles of women who survived the ordeal of this life-changing and life-threatening decision. In the Philippines, the main factor behind abortion remains poverty. The country's harsh economic conditions forced 25-year-old Beth into getting an abortion. At age 20, she got pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Her relationship with the child's father did not last, and she was left to care for their daughter alone. 3 years later, she got involved with another man and found herself pregnant again. When she told him about the pregnancy, his reaction was all too familiar.
I think na yung attitude niya, nakikita ko yung sa dati. Nakita ko na walang effort, wala naman din, parang hindi niya responsible na anuhin yun eh, na pananagutan. Kaya, tas sabi ko, hindi talaga po pwede.
It wasn't just the prospect of being a single parent a second time around that made her decide to terminate her pregnancy. For Beth, giving up the second baby meant securing a better future for her firstborn child. She began taking a brand of misoprostol. After the first 2 tablets, she began to experience its effects.
So talagang namamagana ako noong time na yun. Kasi allergy ako sa pill na yun. Allergy pala ako dun. Hindi ko alam. Nangangati na ako talaga. Tapos hindi na ako makahinga kasi dahil doon sa medicine. Pagkatapos, sobrang sakit pa nung nung minsan mo. Kaya sobrang sakit talaga, namimilipit ako sa sakit.
Despite the pain, she continued taking the pills. Soon after, she began to bleed. Although the pain Beth endured eventually disappeared, the experience continues to haunt her memory.
Bukod sa nahihirapan yung physical mo, emotionally din, depressed ka, pero mo, cargo mo din yun eh. Hanggang ngayon, nandito yun sa isip mo. Kita mo nga ngayon, nakakwento ka, diba? Parang nandun lahat ng thoughts na talagang hindi mo makakalimutan.
According to women's healthcare experts, emotional distress and conflict such as death is common among post-abortion patients.
Nakakaramdam sila ng takot kasi first time nilang ma-hospital, no? Hindi nila kilala yung doctors, yung nurses. Nag-aalala sila kung ano yung procedure na gagawin sa kanila. Yun. Yung iba naman, galit. Yung iba naman, siyempre, feeling of relief. Kasi nawala yung problema nila. Meron din yung minsan guilty feelings, no? Kasi yung nakukonsensya din sila bakit siyempre alam nila na buhay yung parang winala nila.
44-year-old Mirna's difficult situation led to a path similar to Beth's. Already struggling to sustain 7 children with her meager salary, Mirna found herself pregnant by her live-in partner. This time, however, she decided that having another child she cannot properly provide for would be unfair. Using a combination of over-the-counter drugs and strenuous physical activity, Mirna ended her pregnancy.
Pag inom ko ng gamot, gabi na yon, pumunta ako sa manghihilo. Tapos, pag-ilot sa akin, nagtatakbo-takbo ko, nagtatalon-talon ako para maano ko. Iihilang ako sa banyo, tinitiga-tiga ko. Kahit wala pa akong dugo, inihilot ko para maano. Yung isang pagdating ng January 26, yun na nga, dinugo na ako.
Although Mirna similarly experienced post-abortion depression, she eventually came to terms with her decision.
Tinanggap ko to. Talagang desisyon ko na. Desisyon ko na. Kasi, kawawa naman siya kung bubuhin ko.
But Mirna is quick to offer advice for women in similar situations.
Kung palalaglag mo yan, pag-isipan mo muna ng 10 beses. No, pag nagawa mo, nariyan na, tanggap mo na. Hindi ka na magsisisi.
In most countries around the world, abortion is legal, though with varying degrees of restriction. In 1994, the Philippines was one of 179 nations that agreed to adopt the Program of Action formulated during the United Nations International Conference on Population and Development. The Program of Action does not call for universal legal and safe abortion, but it does call for greater actions to deal with the health impact of unsafe abortion. Most importantly, it emphasizes that in all cases, women should have access to quality services for the management of complications arising from abortion.
Even if we know that they resorted to abortion, we have to accept them as persons. So in other words, we have to be compassionate, okay, and try to help them in order not to repeat the occurrence.
Kailangan ng health provider, wag natin i-impose din yung values and attitude para hindi maka-apekto dun sa care, no? Quality ng care na bibigay natin sa pasyente. Kailangan yung health provider marunong i-observe yung confidentiality para maging natin yung trust ng pasyente. Hindi tayo maging judgmental, no? Kasi nandito tayo para tulungan yung pasyente, hindi pagagalitan, hindi sisigawan, no? O kaya hindi paghintayin ng matagal. Kasi meron siyang values din na kailangan nating irespeto.
We have to separate the effects from the performance of abortion. There should be 2 separate policies. Abortion should not be performed because it is a crime. But when it happens, then the complications resulting from abortion should be dealt with accordingly.
For Attorney Ursua, this means that doctors must follow the rule of confidentiality when they treat patients with post-abortion complications. At the same time, doctors must also be protected from criminal liability for treating such cases. Healthcare experts also agree that treatment shouldn't end with the woman's physical well-being. Whenever possible, post-abortion counseling should be made available to women. This should include information about contraception, the risks of abortion, shelters for women, sources of support for married and unmarried mothers, and alternatives to abortion, such as carrying the pregnancy to term and putting the child up for adoption. In fact, most feel counseling should be mandatory.
Women after abortion, they should be counseled because all patients who underwent, who had induced abortion, about 70% of these women don't want any more children. So this is your target population. Importante yung counseling sa post-abortion kasi dito mo i-guide yung pasyente para magdesisyon para sa sarili niya. Dito mo ibibigay yung dapat na impormasyon para maiwasan muli yung halimbawa unwanted na pwede mo sabihin sa kanya na meron namang mga pamamaraan para maiwasan yung pagbubuntis kung ayaw niyang mabuntis.
The Philippine Congress has filed 4 separate bills on abortion. One filed in the House of Representatives proposes to legalize abortion for victims of rape and incest, pregnant women with serious health problems, and women carrying a deformed fetus. The 3 other bills filed in the Senate seek to make abortion a heinous crime and increase the penalties for both the woman and the persons who perform or assist in abortion. But regardless of its legal status, the prevalence of induced abortion should be of concern, not only to public officials, but also to social planners, religious leaders, health workers, social activists, and private individuals. Instead of concealing its existence, public discussion about the true scale of abortion, its probable causes and consequences are essential if health planners are to deal humanely and wisely with this serious medical and societal issue.
When we look at abortion, in terms of the hard issues confronting women, we will be able to understand that abortion should be dealt with more responsibly instead of simply looking at it as an immoral issue or an immoral thing that women avail of, because it's not like that at all.
Let's stop making bulong yung yung parang anyone who talks about abortion is bad, anyone who goes through an abortion is bad. Maybe we really should stop doing that, but to face the issue head on.
Facing the issue head on, Ursua and others advocate a strengthening of the country's reproductive health services.
If we want to prevent abortions from happening, the best way really is to make available to women services, complete, sensitive, appropriate services for women related to reproductive health as well as sexual health.
I am still for the strengthening of the family planning program, the availability of different contraceptive methods a woman or a couple can freely choose.
Doon sa mga more developed countries na talagang mas magaganda yung kanilang mga family planning activities, mas less yung number of abortions. Kumbaga, we don't really, in discussing the abortion issue, we don't really want to see abortion cases increasing. We actually want abortion cases to be decreasing.
Para sa lahat ng reproductive health.
National health campaigns about family planning and the strengthening of the country's reproductive health service are important strategies needed to address both the immediate consequences and underlying causes of the serious health threat to Filipino women and society in general. The UP Population Institute recommends the following component actions of such a strategy.